when I'm going to use the words evolved. And I don't know if you've ever watched Digimon, or where they fuse with their Digimon and they become one. That's what happened. So at a point where I was probably doing deeper work spiritually, is we basically, because when I talk to them, I see them in my mind's eye, and I go to visit them with my spiritual life, and then I conversation with them, I have a conversation with them, and then at one point we all just fused and became one. So now I wear them like a suit. We're all just one, and I have the left arm for the First Nations American men and the right arm for the chief, and we all just exist as one. Kia ora, welcome back, whānau. Bienvenidos la familia. My name is Cyrus. I think it's the first time I've said my name. My name is Cyrus. And today I'm going to be talking about spirit guides and animal guides and our ancestors and the ascended masters and what I've learned about guides and my journeys of how I've connected to spirit guides. This also relates to the previous video on what I mentioned about that technique that I was taught to me about for my mentor about the halfway house, and I'm going to also share that today and guide you through a meditation on how to access that place and how to build that space for yourself. Because for me, I connected with a lot of my guides in this dimension, in this realm. I actually did a lot of work, like a lot of healing with people, a lot of healing with myself, and I connected and communicated with a lot of different guides that came through over my time within that space. So I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think and feel. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy. So before we begin, I'll share Karakia, and then we'll see where this journey takes us about guides. So I invite you to take your hat off. If you have a hat, I have a hat, and allow your eyes to come to a close and bring your head to a bow. Whakataka te hau, ke te uru, whakataka te hau, ke te tonga, kia mā kine kine ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hi ake ana te atakura, he tio, he hoka, he hauhu, ti hei, mauri ora. If I haven't shared before about what Karakia is a Māori prayer. There are Māori prayer that are religious and Māori prayer that are not. I prefer to do Karakia that is not religious. And if you follow my other videos and you hear me say ti hei mauri ora, feel free to join me on the mauri ora. So I'll go ti hei mauri ora, and then also quite often I would say honye huye, and then you'll reply taikia. So maybe I'll do that for us next time. So spirit guides, the worlds of guides. I'll give a little bit of understanding. So I learned a couple of different things from my mentor, and then also during my studies of when I was studying a diploma of energy healing. A couple of the key things that I learned was that animal guides and ancestors are most accessible to us to connect to. Why? Ancestors, because they connected to us through our DNA, and they can be ancestors that have passed on in your lifetime or passed on in before your lifetime. So it could be your grandpa, your grandfather, grandpapa, grandmother, grandfather, your great-grandmother, great-grandfather, and way down the line. So ancestors usually share DNA with you, so they're most easiest to connect with, especially if you're in your homeland and where you live, where you're from. I gotta remember where to look. I'm still trying to figure this part out. Spirit guides, animal guides. Animal guides are most accessible to us as well, because they, from my understanding, they exist here on this plane, on this physical plane, and because there are still lots of animals here, so a lot of their essence still lives along in connection with the many animals, such as the eagle spirit, frog spirit, even the weta. Weta is an insect from New Zealand, which is one that I've just recently connected with, and I can tell you about that pretty shortly. Then we also have all the elementals and the fairy folk that all live within our nature, our natural world of existence. The elementals could be the forest elementals, the water elementals, the wind elementals, the earth elementals, and then also gods and goddesses depending on which culture you come from. I come from the culture of Māori, and we believe in the many atua is what we call them, which is just the word for gods and goddesses. We don't really label them as male, female, masculine, feminine. They're just the atua, and there are many atua for many different things. And then you can have your angels as well. Angels are also quite easily accessible to us. Then we had our ascended masters, our deities, our higher gods and goddesses, and many other different types of guides. And one key element that I learned about was the gatekeepers. What I learned were gatekeepers were your main guides that are with you in this lifetime from when you were born to when you leave. Typically you have two. You might have one, but typically you have two gatekeepers. So, I want to share a little bit about my journey with my guides and how I have connected with them and the many different stories and when they have shown up. So when I was working with my mentor, the first guide that came through for me, which was supported and helped by my mentor. My mentor's name is Elena. I'm just going to say her name. Her name is Elena, my first mentor. And that was who came through first was my deceased older brother. My brother that's not with us because he passed away when he was younger and before I was born. And so he came to me through us and through meditation and guided meditation. And I've never seen his face. I don't know what his face looks like, but I could get a sense of his energy and a rough sense of his facial features. Now, when in the previous video, when I talked about the journey of the vision that I had when I shot into the future, there's a part there that I didn't share, which was how I came back to the now reality. Was I heard a voice which sounded like my brother's voice, and it said, "It's time to come back now." And I believe that was my brother Shadow. His name was Shadow. And then fast forward, I was working with Shadow for like a couple of years. It was supporting me in the unseen realms, in the spiritual and astral world. And then either my first niece or my first nephew was born, because there was my niece and then there was my nephew. One of them, I actually can't remember now at this moment, but when either my niece or either my nephew was born, both to the same dad, my brother, is I heard my brother, that's my guide, Shadow, say, "I'm gonna leave you and I'm gonna go look after." Oh yeah, it was my niece. It was my niece. He said, "I'm gonna leave you and I'm gonna go look after her now." So he left me. But we did a lot of work together. Actually, helped me heal a lot of things and helped me to heal a lot of things within myself in this now reality. So I want to speak about my gatekeepers. My two gatekeepers, which have been working with me my whole time, they're still with me, because like I said, they're with you for your whole life. Is first the Māori chief. He sits on my right side. He sits here on my right side, a Māori chief. He's a big guy. He's a bit of a bigger guy. I feel for whatever reason, sometimes it's available to you to learn their names and be able to learn their names. There are some that I've learned and some that I haven't. So a Māori chief. And then on my left side is a shapeshifter, a Native American, but they don't really like the word Native American, but an indigenous First Nation man to North and Central America, from one of the tribes there. it transforms from a wolf to a man. Now, it came to me first in my dream as a wolf, and then he transformed into a man. And then the following week, I had a session with my mentor, Elena, and she asked me like, how's everything going, like what happened over the previous week. And I said, oh, this wolf came to me, but it transformed into a man. And then she said, oh, I was wondering who that wolf was, because sometimes she receives also signs and messages for her students. And so they gave me validation and confirmation that this was true for me. And then also the week after, in my diploma of energy healing, we had a subject on animal guides, and like there's a part of my ego that was like, and I'm like, sure, like a wolf, it's so cliche, the mystical wolf, woo woo woo. And I was kind of looking for more validation. And we're doing a bit of card reading, and I picked out a card from the animal guide deck, and it was a wolf. And I was like, oh, okay, like sure. And then I put it back in and I shuffled it and said, if it comes out again, then I'll believe it. And then boom, it came out again, the wolf. And so those are my two main gatekeepers. This First Nations Indigenous North American warrior that transformed from man to wolf, and then this Māori chief. So they're my gatekeepers. So in my lifetime, in the last 10 years, I've worked a lot with them, and have really sought lots of guidance from them, strength, protection when I navigate through the unseen worlds, and also in this world as well. There was a point in my journey, like 7 years later, like 3 years ago, when I'm gonna use the words evolved. And I don't know if you've ever watched Digimon, or where they fuse with their Digimon and they become one. That's what happened. So at a point where I was probably doing deeper work spiritually, is we basically, because when I talk to them, I see them in my mind's eye, and I go to visit them with my spiritual eye, and then I conversation with them. I have a conversation with them, and then at one point we all just fused and became one. So now I wear them like a suit. We're all just one, and I have the left arm for the First Nations American man and the right arm for the chieftain, the chief, and we all just exist as one. So, and they quite often would visit me, and I'll talk to them a lot because it was easy for me to access in this halfway house, which is my beautiful rainforest. During that rainforest also, I met a lot of my spirit animals. Currently, there are two snakes that interweave, and they come right up and they sit at the top of my head. I have an eagle right here on my chest. There's a tarantula that sits right at the back. What else? There's I'm just gonna list all the spirit guides that I work with. There's a gecko that sits right here. There are 3 owls. Owls is in the bird. I pronounce it really weirdly. Owls. 3 birds. Owls. They sit in one sits in the center, and one on the shoulder, one on the shoulder. And there's also a white witch, and one of her eyes, her right eye, is my left eye, and she sits on this side. And then I have my 2 gatekeepers, and then I also have a dragon. There was another dragon before, so you can also have mythical spirit guides. There was another dragon before, but that dragon wanted to move on and look after my niece, and then another dragon was born within me. And he just kind of sits on my shoulder. His name is, I learned of his name. His name is Te Taniwha Te Maha Mahanga, the dragon of many breaths. And the other dragon, her name was Safera, and she's gone on to look after my niece. Basically, I arrived back into New Zealand like 8 months ago, and I met a new niece to another brother for the first time. And then I heard her say, I'm gonna leave you and I'm gonna go look after her. And I was like, oh, okay. And then that day I was in meditation, and I was guided to my root. And there in the flame, the inner flame of my belly, there was a dragon egg, and it hatched, and it was a red dragon, because the pharaoh is a female dragon, even though they can switch their sexes and also mate with themselves. But they presented themselves as a Saphira as a female dragon to me, and then Manawa Mahanga presented himself as a male. Anyway, as you can see, as you can hear, yeah, I have a deep connection with my guides. But actually, over the last 2 to 3 years, I stopped talking to everybody, and just wanted to be quiet and just be in the stillness. And so I stopped talking to everybody, and stopped seeking guidance from guides, and started seeking wisdom from my own experiences. There was anyway, right now, as of last week, actually 2 days ago, I decided I wanted to kind of open that space back up for communication, but specifically to my tipuna. Tipuna is the Māori word for ancestors. And over the last 3 weeks, I've been intentionally seeking guidance from tipuna, as I wanted to dive into the world of Te Ao Māori, Mātauranga Māori, and learn about the indigenous practices and my indigenous practice of my Māori culture. And a couple of days ago, I was sitting in meditation, and boom, they show up in circle. And so there's five of them, 5 new guides, tipuna ancestors. There are 2. There's a Karawa and a Kuia, which is an older man and an older woman. They're both blind, but they're both tohunga. Tohunga is like a kind of like another like the Māori word for shaman. And so they're both spiritual teachers. And then there's a Tane, a man that transforms into a bird, and there's a Tane that transforms into a weta, insects, and then there's a Patupaiere, a fairy man. And they all seem to be here with me, for me, and guiding me in this new path. Over the weekend, the weta, which is an insect, you can look it up, research it, was showing up because I was in a Māori-based framework rites of passage men's retreat, wānanga. Wānanga means school of learning, and it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and weta jumped on my hat twice, actually, 2 different times on my hat, then also when I was sleeping. So for me, that's a bit of a tohu. Tohu means sign of, okay, cool, this is my guide. This is one of my guides. I spoke a lot about guides, and that's only a little bit of it. So how do we connect with guides? That was a lot. Thanks for listening. But how do we connect with guides? So one way is through this technique that I was taught, which is the halfway house, which I want to kind of lead you through a meditation right now. That's one way. Another way is just in meditation and cultivating presence, cultivating self-awareness, opening up that doorway, that space. What's most important is you still have discernment about who you are communicating with, and also know that it's important that it is a relationship. It goes 2 ways. So one thing that I like to share is don't blindly follow everything that your guide says. It's in a relationship, so therefore you can also say no. I've said no. I've said, no, I don't want to do that. Can you give me another way to do that? When they've asked for me to do offerings, asked me to do different things and certain things, I say no, it's not available to me and I don't want to do it. And I've also had guides get upset at me, and I've told them, like, hey, like, calm down, let's have a conversation about it. And so the most important part when connecting with different beings, even if they are also your ancestors, is have discernment, trust your higher self, trust your heart, ask questions, get curious, and it's an exchange. It's a relational experience. Most important part here is what I share is like the concept of boundaries around working with different guides in the unseen. And I've been asked quite a few times on how, like, I can't get to sleep. My guide's talking to me all the time, man. It's like I just can't sleep. And then I asked them, like, well, how are your boundaries? And they say, like, oh, I tell them no, but they still do it. Then I asked them, like, how are your boundaries in this physical world? Can you say no? Are your boundaries clear to the people that are in your life? And quite often it's not. So basically, like, this physical world is a mirror reflection of the astral world. And so what you do here directly impacts what happens over there and vice versa. So if your boundaries are not strong here, if you can't say no, if you don't know your sacred no, then that sacred no and your no will not have value over there, and you'll get walked all over. So most important part, have discernment when starting to communicate with your guides. And it's a relational experience. Know your boundaries. Okay. I suggest to start first connecting with animal guides, because animal guides are unconditional love and they are here to serve as our familiars, and we're here to look after each other. Whereas our ancestors, angels, different other guides, they also have an agenda. They also have something that they want to experience. So this is up to you and your own discernment. So I'm going to lead you through a meditation to build this place. And a lot of the work I share can be done off of this place as well. I'm already at like 20 minutes. Anyway, here we go. This is the meditation. So I'm going to invite you to get into a comfortable position. You can either lie down, you can sit up, just as long as you're comfortable. And then allow your eyes to come to a close. Allow your body to soften and relax. And just allowing yourself to arrive into this moment. Allowing your nervous system to settle, to soften, to regulate. Allow the thoughts of the day or the night to start drifting away into the wind, into the abyss. And I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness inside yourself and just notice firstly how you're feeling in this moment. Is it available for you to drop in? Is it available for you to create, to imagine? And just allow us to connect through time and space. I'm going to invite us to share 3 deep inhales and exhales together. So taking a deep inhale and exhale on sound. And again, deep inhale and exhale on sound. And the last time, taking a deep inhale, but hold it at the top. And hold. And exhaling on sound. Allow the breath to come to its natural rhythm. Allow your body to soften. And in your mind's eye, in your spiritual eye, in your Fatimano, I'm going to invite you to imagine. I'm going to invite you to imagine a place, a space that fills you with safety and joy. Now this place can be the beach, this place can be your room, this place can be the forest, anywhere that comes to your mind. Usually it's the first thought. And so when that place starts to arrive, and if you are there, take a look around and notice what you see. If it's the beach, notice what color is the sand, what color is the water. Is it a sunny day? Is it a cloudy day? Notice what type of plants are there, if there are any plants. Notice what you can see. Maybe in this moment, the awareness is just you on a small island, and it's also able to change and evolve as you evolve. If you are in a house, a room, notice what color the walls are. Do you have a bed in there? Are there couches, furniture, paintings? Notice the color, the texture, notice the smell. If you're in nature, what type of trees are there? Is there a body of water close, a lake, a river, a swamp? Is it sunny? Is it cloudy? And just allowing yourself to explore in detail. Take a walk around. This space that you've created should currently only have you that exists there. Now, if there are any animals or other people, kindly ask them to leave. And maybe not even kindly ask them to leave, demand them to leave, because you can demand from spirit. It is your divine right. So demand that whoever may be there, animal or spirit, just demand them to leave as you explore this place in the safety of your own time. And they can come back, but for now, just allow the space to be your own and get comfortable with demanding from spirit, as it is your divine right. So take a look around. As you look around and feel, notice your physical sensations in this now moment, how they feel. Notice if any emotions arise, any sensations arise as you explore. Notice how far you can see, how big that space is. Maybe it's only a small bit of forest and there's just an edge. And that's okay, because that can evolve. When I first explored my place, it was just a cliff and a bit of trees and a river. And then as I visited that space every day, it started to grow more because my awareness started to grow. So just accept what you see, what you feel, and what you hear for what it is now. Now, in this space that you have created, I invite you to find somewhere that is enclosed. If you're at the beach, maybe you dig a hole. Maybe there's a cliff there, maybe you can go into a cave. Maybe there's a little water cave at the bottom of the sea. If you're in your room, maybe there's a closet in there. If you want to go into the closet, or maybe you just want to lock your room. If you're in a house, if you're in a forest, maybe it's inside a tree. The most important part about this space is there's only one way in and one way out. Like my space was behind the waterfall in an amethyst smoky quartz cave, and I had a door there, like a water door, and then I could see through it, but they couldn't see in, and then I could open it and close it. The most important part is that this space has only one way in and one way out, and nobody can get in unless you let them in. So when you find the space and you are there and you feel comfortable there, allow yourself to settle into that place, to find comfort. And then when you're ready, I'm going to invite you to invite an animal at the door. Just say, you can use the words such as, I invite the spirit animal to the door, or something along those lines. The spirit animal. And then you can look through the peephole and see the animal. And then what I did was, if it was a door, I can make the door see-through, but only I can see. Now, if there is an animal there, now this animal can be an animal that exists on earth, an animal that exists previously on Earth, and or it can be a mythical, magical animal. Just trust what is there. Now you have a choice to either communicate with this animal. You can communicate with the animal through the door. You can go out to see the spirit animal outside the door, or you can invite the spirit animal in. Now also be aware that sometimes these animals are shapeshifters and they could trick you. So have discernment, trust your intuition, and do what you need to do to feel safe with this animal, to check that this animal is here to support you and here to serve you. Quite often, usually if this is your space that you've created, usually everything that enters into that dimension, that realm, is there for service of you. So usually there's no trickery or tricky little mischievous spirits trying to get in and trick you. So once you feel complete with that, you can choose to allow that spirit animal to live there and also pass and join you in this physical realm. And when you feel complete, you can allow yourself to remember the sensations of this place. Taking a deep inhale, deep exhale, allowing the breath to deepen and soften. When you're ready, you can bring your eyes to normal. Now this space you can visit every day. You can visit this space every day and you can communicate with old guides, new guides, and invite new guides. Sometimes you can invite guides in, and sometimes guides will just show up. So what I would do is I would visit that space every day, and I would just sit inside my cave, and then I would wait. Then I would see who would show up. As opposed to invite someone, I would just wait and see who would show up. So that is a very shortened version of the halfway house. I hope it makes sense. Now if you would want a audio file of this and suggest and would like me to make one, please let me know in the comments. Once again, this is quite new for me in sharing in this way. So I'm just trying to figure it out. Quite often I just work with people one-on-one or in group and physical, but this is new for me. So I've talked a lot about spirit guides, and I've led you through a way to connect with spirit guides, and also given you some tips on duty of care and safety when working with guides. So that's it for today. That was a long one, and I'm just gonna close with the song. This is mi abuela, grandmother, and I'm only gonna sing the first verse of this song. I hear the voice of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the voice of my grandmother's songs. I hear the voice of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the voice of my grandmother's song. She says, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Listen, 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 listen. I hear the voice of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the voice of my grandmother's songs. I hear the voice of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the voice of my grandmother's song. She says, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Listen, 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 listen. I hope you enjoyed that talk, that guide about spirit guides. I spoke a lot about my experiences with the guides and I only touched the surface of it. There's still a lot that I experience with my guides. So I hope you learned a lot. I hope this was informative. Once again, there's a few how I've learned to work with guides through my mentor and through my studies. Many different cultures, many different teachers have many different ways to approach guides. The key thing for me and the most important thing for me is that you understand that you have a right and you can demand, and not to blindly follow the request of guides. You are in complete control, and if you are not, ask yourself why you are not in control, and then also reflect it back on your physical world, because quite often your physical habits and experiences are a reflection of your astral world and vice versa. So thank you. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, like and follow. Mōri ora.